We're about to read the parasha of Tavo. Parasha of Tavo, it's always read in the month of Elul, month of Betula, the sign of Virgo. Parasha of Tavo is one of the most amazing, strange parashot of the Torah. It talks about how God tells Moshe to tell people that if you do certain things, if you do positive things will happen to you. You will receive blessing. And God forbid, if you do negative things, then the outcome would be, as for shalom, curses. And this parasha is between these two forces, the forces of blessing and the forces of, as for shalom, curses. To a point that in some of the synagogue, actually most of the synagogue who do not understand or do not practice Kabbalah, when it comes to this section that we read the curses, they read it very quietly, is afraid that the curses are the curses. But we know in Kabbalah that there is no anything negative in the Torah. So even the curses are not the curses, they're the vaccination. They are the vaccination of not to fall into the negativities that, God forbid, it could happen to us. But what is it all about? Blessing, curses. We see that there are two positive forces. Two positive forces. Two different forces. I'm sorry. A positive force and a negative force. And we understand in physics, in order to create light between the two poles of positive and negative, you need a form of restriction. You need this phenomenon, this resistance that you put between the two forces. And when you put these elements, when you push back these two forces, then you create light. Rabbi Berg always used to use this very, very practical, physical example. When you look at the light bulb, you see in a light bulb there are two poles, a positive pole and a negative pole. A positive pole works just like the light force, wants to give, wants to part, wants to share. The negative pole wants to receive. And the way the light comes out of the ball is when you put a resistor between the two. And the stronger the resistor that push back these two forces from each other, the more light comes out of the light bulb. A difference between a 9 volt bulb versus a 100 volt bulb is not the amount of the positive energy and the negative energy. It's up to how much restriction involves between the two forces. And if you really look at our world today, what's happening right now in Florida, in the Gulf of Mexico, is the hurricane. And we know that the hurricane begins when the two different forces, two different temperature, two different waves of the water clash, and they create the hurricane. They create disaster. Just like when in the light bulb, if you don't apply the resistor between the two forces, when the positive pole and the negative pole collide with each other, it creates a short circuit. You see a huge light, but the bulb gets destroyed. So, this parasha, who always falls in the month of Elul, in the month of repentance, in the month that we're supposed to exercise restriction to change our reactive behavior to a proactive behavior. What is a reactive behavior? I want it right now. What is reactive behavior? When I'm under influence of my ego, of my selfish desire. When I want everything right now, when I get impressed by everything that happens in this world. The only force of proactive in this world is the light force of God. We human beings, we fall in the trap of reactive behavior. This is just what happened to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. There were two trees, a tree of life and a tree of good and bad. And the God says, what? Stay away from the tree of good and bad, because that represents the negative force. The tree of life represents the light force. And as long as Adam and Eve exercised the restriction of not to become reactive, they were in control of everything. Man controlled everything, controlled the nature, controlled all the animals, controls all the vegetation. It was right after the short circuit when they stopped resisting temptation, selfishness, then the chaos happened. There are two forces in this world, the light force and the darkness. It always is. A human being is that resistor part, is what the restriction is all about. And when we practice restriction, when we practice patience, when we practice love, when we stay away hate, which is the ultimate reactivity is, then we create harmony, balance in this world. Have you ever asked yourself why the season of hurricane is always in the month of Elul? Always. This amazing phenomenon, the physical phenomenon that happens, it always happens when these two forces clash with each other without any restriction. And the lack of restriction that happens in the nature is due to the lack of restriction that we need to apply and we don't apply. The good news is that we read this parasha of Tavo. The parasha at Tavo, the Shabbat of Tavo, gives us the strength to create balance force between these two forces. If you read it literally, you see that Torah talks about two mountains. One mountain is for reciting the blessing, and one mountain is about to recite the, God forbid, curses. But these two mountains are not touching each other. There is a distance between the two forces. So it's all about practicing patience, love, forgiveness, everything that has to do with proactivity. I want to share something with you which is very, very beautiful. This parasha talks about something which it may not be relative physically to us. It talks about the concept of bikurim. What is bikurim? God says, when you are in the land of Israel and you plant a tree, a fruit tree, and when this fruit tree gives you a fruit, you go and pick the best fruit of this tree, the most perfect fruit of this tree. You take it from the tree and you bring it to Jerusalem and you give it to the Kohanim, to the high priest. Imagine you live in Israel and your tree in Sfad. Your tree is in Beersheba. First, you have to make sure your tree grows perfectly. Then you go and pick the best fruit, the most perfect fruit of that tree. Before you use it, before you enjoy it, you pick it up, and at that time, thousands of years ago, you had to travel to Jerusalem, days, maybe months, travel to Jerusalem and give it to the high priest. I don't know any of us who has a tree that has a fruit tree in Israel. And then I don't know if we really go and choose the best tree and we bring it to Jerusalem and give it to the high priest. So what are we talking about? What Torah is talking about? What is this bikurim? And to make this matter even more interesting, it says in the Midrash, this is so amazing. It says in the Midrash, the whole purpose of the creation of the world. Imagine, the whole purpose of the creation of the world is the mitzvah of bikurim. Imagine, the whole purpose of the creation is the mitzvah of bikurim. So what happened to every one of us? We never get involved in this amazing mitzvah. As I explained, there are two forces in this world. And because of the fall of Adam, we are under the influence of the tree of Etzadat, the tree of good and bad, the two energy that we just talked about. In this world, we have to deal with positivity and negativity. We have to deal with good people, bad people. We have to deal with good challenges, bad challenges. Sometimes we receive a blessing, and sometimes receiving a blessing is the most difficult thing. Sometimes we're happy, sometimes we're sad. Sometimes we don't see the big picture. Sometimes we do. It's on and off, on and off. Like everything that happens in this world. It's positive, negative, positive, negative. And then the Kabbalist explains that the only way that you could bring blessing into your life is to go through this process of positivity and negativity and practicing restriction, practicing love, practicing forgiveness, so you could bring blessing into your life. We're supposed to go into the darkness to see the light within the darkness. So there is a process. There is challenges, there are difficulties in order to bring blessing into our world. And that's what we do. It seems like nothing comes easy. We all look for the perfect light force, perfect blessing that doesn't require hustles and difficulties. But it seems to be that nothing really works without working on ourselves. And then the Kabbalist explains that beyond the concept of right and left, positive and negativity, there is this perfect light. I'm going to repeat this again because if we get it, our life will change. The Kabbalist explains that beyond the concept of positivity and negativity, beyond the concept of challenges, beyond the concept of days and nights and good and bad, and all the process that we have to go through, there is a perfect light. There is a perfect light. And this perfect light, it's perfect and it's not controlled by any negativity. It's perfect. It exists in this world. It exists in this Shabbat. There is a perfect light force without any challenges, without any difficulties. And it's available this Shabbat. And the Kabbalist explains that the secret of Bikurim, it actually connects us to this perfect light that exists in this world. The concept of Bikurim, the concept of picking the best fruit of your tree and bringing it to Yerushalayim and make it a gift to the high priest. A blessing without any challenges. A light force without any challenges, without any difficulties, without the process. So how do we get this? How do we get this? And the Midrash explains something even more easy and difficult to understand. The Midrash says, like every time you come to pray, like every time you come to a Bet Knesset, you come to a synagogue, always use two doors. Always use two doors. You come in one door, make sure you break through a second door. What are we talking about? What door? So if I go to a synagogue and has only one door, what am I supposed to do? What are these doors are talking about? And then Midrash explains the second door is the real love. It's the unconditional love. Unconditional love, a real love. We all give, we all share, we all good people. We give. People ask us for help, we help. Places they ask for donation, you give. A friend asks you for help, you extend your love. That's the first door. That's the first door. It's conditional. I want something in return. I give a donation, I want a tax receipt so I could use that in my taxes. I give money to a kenisa, but I want my name on the door of the kenisa. I give you love only if you give me love back. I love you if you love me. I take care of you if you listen to me. There is always condition in our love. There is always a negative attachment, an entitlement to the love that we give. We always want something in return. And it's not a true love. The second door that Midrash is talking about, the bekurim, the best fruit of your tree, that you take to Yerushalayim and you give it to the light force of God, is the real love. It's the love that has no attachment to it. Nothing, it's pure love, it's emet. It's emet. Ask yourself, when was the last time you did something only for the sake of love? When was the last time you helped somebody without expecting anything in return? Not even a simple thank you. Nothing. You did it out of love. When was the last time that you worked on something that it was so precious to you? Like the bikurim, so precious to you. And you worked really hard for it. And you're willing to give it up. Because you don't want nothing in return. That's unconditional love. It's the truth. It's the emet. This love, bikurim, is the truth. It says in Midrash, when God showed everything to Moshe Rabbeinu, when Moshe Rabbeinu saw the future, he saw that we live with conditional love. Yes, we give. We're nice people. We're sweet people. We forgive. Yes, I get it. And wonderful. But is it enough? Moshe saw that is not enough. So Moshe, with the light force of God, they created the Torah, the emet, the truth. The truth. And the truth is the only thing that lasts forever. The true love is the only thing that lasts forever. Everything else will diminish. If you give a love and it's conditional, it's not going to last. The only thing that lasts in this world is emet. True love. True love. And we should ask ourselves, are we living in truth or are we living in lies? Rabbi Berg, you always used to say we live in lie. We lie to ourselves. We lie to ourselves. We love ourselves too much. We care about ourselves too much. We put ourselves first. Everything is conditional. And because it is, we don't last. Moshe Rabbeinu lives forever. because he was emet. It was the true love. Torah would last forever because it's the truth. It's the Bikurim. This Shabbat, we gain the power to touch, to bring home true love that is within us, within every one of us. It exists. It's there. It's hidden. It's covered by kalipots, but it's there. This Shabbat, it's only if you want it, you can ignite it. You can awaken that energy that is within you and practice true love through Emet. Is that Hashem.